In the long run, I think this was a little correction that we needed here. We had obviously a couple of things that happened. Yesterday, we had the tariffs come out. Today, we had the jobs data being revised as well, looking worse than what we originally thought. So two things. So it was basically a 1-2 punch on Bitcoin and the markets in general. I mean, everything was pretty much in the red. There were a few things that were in the green, but for the most part, everything was in the red. We'll take a look at obviously what happened with Bitcoin today. It looks similar to previous drops that we've had here, at least the last 2 prior drops that we had, I think maybe even 3, excuse me, where we went down about 8%. So this is nothing out of the ordinary. This stuff happens and we move forward from there. We actually go up higher from it too. So we'll take a look at it there. We'll also take a look at some news stories that we do have here. There was a lot of liquidation happening here today because of that. ETFs were in the red today because of it as well. Outflows actually, basically. That was quite a bit actually. We'll take a look at that. No miner news today. Nobody reported their monthly production updates for July. We'll probably get those on next week, so we'll cover that at that point. And then we'll get into Q&A, so it should be pretty short and sweet today. Hopefully, well, I was hoping it was going to be a better day, but it is what it is. So here's what we got. Not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And hopefully you guys are enjoying your Friday Eve. I know that the day wasn't great. But let's see. Let's take a look at what we got going on here with Bitcoin right now. And we can see here that Bitcoin right now is actually going back up here. So today and yesterday were not good days. We were down yesterday 1.76%. Today we were down 2.17%. We got to a low of 112,659. The CME futures gap got completely filled. That is done and over with. So that's at least a good sign there. We can now possibly go back up higher. Potentially, we still might have a little bit more downside potential there, which I think would be our next potential would be, which is right around 111,750, 800 tested, if it is tested at all. Recently, we tested it, right? So I'm thinking we might test that here as well. So be prepared for that if that happens, which would be still okay in my book. And then we go up higher potentially from here. Now, we had a drop of about 8% here from the high here on Bitcoin when it got to 123,000, right? When you went down to a low of about, well, right around there. So about 8.5%, something like that. Not that bad of a drop. We've seen this. Here's the other time we had a drop. We went from here all the way down to here. We were down actually. Here's another one up and we came down 8%. I think over here was a little bit lower drop. We had basically from here down here, we're about 4%, almost 5%, something like that on it. So we've had these drops here and then we've come back up. So I think we're going to have the same kind of effect happening here. But again, we might test the simple 50-day moving average there. And we might even, there's a very, very small, slim chance of us coming down to the 100 simple day moving average and testing that as well. Because it's not too far off from where that one is. It's about 107,000, 108,000 roughly. We could come down and test that and bounce at that point as well. So there's kind of your scenario of the way things could play out here going forward. Obviously, like I said, the jobs report came out, that was revised. The tariffs that Trump announced yesterday, 1-2 punch on Bitcoin markets, everything else. Perfect storm, things were going down across the board pretty much. Ethereum, let's see. Ethereum here was down quite a bit today as well. It was down 5.72%, so did worse than Bitcoin here. Yesterday was down 2.95. It's turned and bounced back up a little bit here as well. This one needed a little bit of a correction here, which is nice to see as well. But Bitcoin overall is going to be fine here, I think, in the long run. And here you can see the CME futures gap here got completely filled. We had the gap right there, and it got completely filled here. So we talked about this in the past. I said that there's a chance that that might happen here, and sure enough, it did. Like I said, majority of times it gets filled. Not all the times, but majority of times it does get filled. So that's at least a good sign there. And then hopefully we don't have a gap here happening over the weekend where Bitcoin flies during the weekend, and then we have a gap again come Monday, right? Don't want to see that. Other than that, what else was there? Oh, there was something else I wanted to show you guys here. This is from Bitcoin.com. Bloodbath, Bitcoin shutters below 114,000 BTC and Ethereum longs lead 863 million liquidation wave. So the longs got liquidated basically. It's a healthy pullback on things, I think. And we'll just do fine going forward. I'm not too concerned about it right now, right? We're not going into a bear market. That's not happening. I don't think that's even anywhere near that. It was just one of those things where we had to correct a little bit. All right, so I saw some of you guys were actually buying here, so that was great. I wanted to buy today as well, but I was mostly traveling for work today. I didn't get a chance. Maybe I'll get a chance to buy next week as well a little bit on some of these guys here, so we'll see. I'm hoping that's going to be the case. All right, so there's that. Miners. Well, the miners did a lot worse than Bitcoin did today. Bitfarms was down almost 8% here on the day. BitDeer was down 6%. Kang was almost, 7.69% down. That one went down straight to the 100 simple day moving average there. Cypher was down 9.71% on the day. Cleanspark was down 8.18%. It went through the 50 SMA and went below the 100. That was actually 200 SMA. And then bounced back up and actually closed at the 200 SMA there. CORZ was down 6.57%. That one went below the 50-day SMA. Hive actually closed below the 50-day SMA as well. That one was down 5.14%. Hut 8 was down 6.83%, came close to the 50 SMA and bounced. IREN was down just probably one that was down the least. Well, them and Mara. It was down 4.41% here. Mara was down 3.61%. That one bounced at the 100 simple day moving average. This thing has gone through all the SMAs, 250, and they got close to 100 SMA as well and bounced on that one. Riot was down huge today, 17.75%. It came all the way down back to their 50-day SMA. The reason for that, I mean, the quarterly results were not that bad. They were actually pretty good for the most part. A couple of things that might have spooked investors there is, one, them getting buying more machines for Bitcoin mining, so maybe there's less of a chance of a AI deal potentially, right? We don't know. The other thing was still, I think, the egregious stock-based compensation, right? All that I think also played into it. What else could there be? Probably something else. I'm thinking that I'm just missing right now, at least in my brain. But that one got beat down really, really badly today. Wolf was down 7.75%. It blew past the 200 SMA as well. And then some of those treasury companies did pretty bad here today as well. MicroStrategy was down 8.7. That one kind of, got, I wouldn't say halted, but it stopped basically at the 100 simple day moving average. Galaxy was down 5.65%. Block was down 4.18% as well. Coin was down a lot, 60.7. That's down below the 50 SMA. MetaPlanet was also down 7.65. Exodus was down 7.98. Semler was down 3.8. So wasn't too bad. See, this one's, I gotta find the new ticker for this one for the blockchain group. What else do we have here? Small miners were down also. Mawson, surprisingly, was the only one that was actually in the green here. And then this one was the Nexon. Nexon was actually up here. All things considered, it was up yesterday and today up even. Wonder what's going on there. But Mawson was up today. Kind of bounced a little bit, 2.56%. Canon was down 4.53%. We do have news on Canon as well. And then the ETFs were down quite a bit. So my profit sharing and retirement account took a big hit today. All of these guys were down above 7% as well. And then the Ethereum holding companies got hit pretty good as well. But Digital was down 6.53%. BTCS was down 11.16%. BMNR was down 8.55%. Game was down 5.53%. SBET was down 8.8%. And then Bitcoin, not difficulty, but Bitcoin dominance here went up today to 62.05. It's down a little bit here in the new day on that one. Okay, so that's the markets overall. Miners for the most part were like down or at least a little bit up in the after hours, but I'm not going to get into it here. You guys can take a look at that. What else do we have here? Bitcoin return right now. Let's see where that comes in at. August, we're down 1.84%. Right? We talked about yesterday also that Bitcoin in the last like 3, 4, 5 months or so, we've started the months out in the red. Right towards the end of the month, we've been crashing, and we saw obviously the same thing play out here. So I'm guessing we're going to bounce later on throughout the month. Going forward, as August historically in bull cycles, bull runs has been a pretty good month for us overall. So we'll see if that trend continues going forward here. Bitcoin ETF inflows. We had an outflow yesterday of 114 million. Today, 809 million being outflown, and that's not including IBIT. So a lot of selling here through the ETFs. People were definitely panicking today for what, well, tariffs and jobs thing. But then again, I would think that the jobs data being revised, being worse than people were thinking, right, would actually lead to the Fed more likely to lower interest rates in September. So it is what it is. So I think we're going to get a bounce. I think this was just a needed correction here on this and a couple of things that spooked us here. This here is on Canon here. So Canon, Bitcoin miner, Canon makes BTC their primary reserve asset. This is huge for the industry. Communicated disclaimer, But Canon is going to be holding, adopting a long-term Bitcoin holding policy. So I think that's great for the company. We don't cover Canon. We do talk about it from time to time. It has underperformed Bitcoin here, even more so than some of the other miners. So for that reason, they're also smaller side for the Bitcoin mining. They also do hosting as well. They do also manufacture ASICs. So I like the path that they're going into. But again, I don't want them to be hodling in order to dilute shareholders there. We'll have to find out some more details on that. Next here is just in. Holding Bitcoin has been profitable for over 99.6% of its history. Bullish, obviously, hodl. And you can see here, number of days profitable holding Bitcoin, 5,441, 99.6% of that. So yeah, if you buy Bitcoin and you hold on to it for several years, you're going to be profitable at that point. It's just a matter of how long. And then we have here, MetaPlanet here, files 3.7 billion shelf registration to fund more Bitcoin buys. They're buying some more, right? Strategy's going to be buying more. I mean, they're all looking to buy more Bitcoin here. So, I mean, do you really believe that Bitcoin's going to be at this price for long? We could come down a little bit more, like I said, a couple more thousand maybe at most, and then we're going to bounce. I think it's just inevitable at this point with everything that's, all these companies are buying here. And lastly here, Bitcoin stock stumbled on weak jobs data. So that's kind of what we talked about here. This is where I pulled some of the information in as well as far as what the heck has happened here. So yeah, jobs were corrected to the downside, unfortunately. Right, unemployment also went up to 4.2 in July, although that was, I guess, expected there. So that is all that I have for you guys here. Like I said, not much news is going on as far as miners are concerned. We'll get a slew of releases probably next week from the miners as far as their production for July. We'll cover it at that point. Other than that, that is all I got. So it's going to be a short video today. We're going on almost 15 minutes here. So we'll get into Q&A and we'll call it a day. All right, so let's do that now. And then that way everybody can enjoy their weekend and see what's going to happen next week. All right, as always, questions, if you could preface those with a question mark, I'd appreciate it, or a Q. And let's see here. I'm going to scroll up as always and work my way down. Let's see, I saw Alexander. Angie also bought today. Alexander Hawk bought Bitdeer, but Cleanspark was probably a better deal. I just got too much of it. Okay. Let's see. Kaiwin says, I freed a bunch of fiat yesterday waiting on the trigger. Nice. Sound is gone says, no, back in, yeah, sometimes the YouTube stream does that. Restart the stream if anything. KBW says it's over. I don't think it's over. More Tim. You saw the Colliger resigned from Fed board. Now Trump can nominate another dove. And Kailashi and Polymarket are raising odds. I saw that. Yeah, I saw the Polymarket odds for September are at, 73% now or something like that, or maybe even higher now. But I did not see that Colliger resigned. I did not see that. Kyle says lots of hate for Jason Less on the street. He sold a lot of stock right before earnings. Did he sell a bunch of stock? Let's take a look at that. I thought I would have seen an SEC filing from that, but I guess not. Let's see. Let me pull that up really quick. Let's go there. Riot. Riot platforms. Okay, let's see here. Let's go to browser. There we go. All right, let's see. Ownership disclosures. What do we have here? 4 statements of change in beneficial ownership. Jason Less. Okay. He sold 100,000 shares there, so that was what, 1.5 million roughly? Right, so he sold that. What was that also due for tax reasons? Reporting under. Let me see. The shares were sold on indicated date in series. Okay, so yeah, those were, I guess, the sales report on this form were effected pursuant to Rule 10 B51 trading plan adopted by. Okay, so that was basically stock gets to a certain price, they will sell at that point. So it wasn't like he sold it based on any insider information, but it was just maybe a trigger point was $15.50 or $15, whatever it was a trigger price at that point. We've seen these with other companies as well. Okay, so he sold there. What else do we have here? July 15th. Turner Michael, same thing, sold 16,000 shares roughly, or let's see, he got acquired at price 0, so he was basically given shares there. So that's not a big thing. And then let's see here. Who is this person? They got shares also, 16,130. So basically share-based compensation. But yeah, Jason did sell about 1.5 million. So it's not too bad, but it's not a good look also, right? Even though it was pre-planned. So I can benefit of the doubt there. All right, let's go back to Q&A. Let's see here. Okay. Guys says Riot is done because of that. I don't think they're done because of that. All right. More Tim's got a question here. What does Cleanspark management need to do to regain retail sentiment because it's not great? They could separate themselves from Riot and Mara by being more responsive to shareholders. I think they are plenty responsive to shareholders as it is right now. Matt does a great job posting on X, interacting with shareholders as well. I think it's just, I mean, it's the market. You can't really control the market. You can do all the right things. What could they do? Could they, they could do one thing. They could maybe lower their stock-based compensation for a while, just to make it look great compared to the other guys there, right? Do it right now. That'd be just a great look. What else could they do? Put out good numbers obviously for July, and that's going to help. Put out good numbers also for I think this is their Q3 results for them. Put out great numbers for that as well. Be EPS positive without the HODL impact, right? That would be great. So there's things that are coming up here that might trigger a nice rally in Cleanspark there. All right. John has got a question here. Since Cypher took a huge hit in not hooking up with Meta, is their future still intact? Getting killed here? Well, they got killed because we saw Bitfury sell a bunch of shares there and others as well in the stock here recently in the last 2 to 3 weeks or so. So I think that's why the stock's been going down like crazy. But it's also not a good look by Bitfury, which is their largest shareholder, selling quite a bit of shares there. Right? Does that mean that their AI ambitions are not generating fruit, basically, right? Not generating the potential there, maybe, is what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying that's one look that you could have with it. I think they still have potential, right? It's still early on. We still have, none of these companies have anything to brag about as far as a deal with a hyperscaler or a huge enterprise customer right now as it is. So I think it's still open market right now, and we'll see. All right, let's see here. Alexander says, seems like the big hodler miners got hit the hardest. Why do you think that? Well, not really. Mara was down a little bit. It was actually one that was down the least. And they have the biggest hodl. Riot got hit because of their reporting, I believe. Partially, the high share-based compensation, just egregious pay packages for these guys. So I don't know if that's truly the case. But obviously, Bitcoin coming down does have an impact on these guys, nonetheless. All right, let's see here. Sean says, I'm bullish for Bitfarms for the first time in over a year. What do you think, Seb? Where the stock is right now, I think they're way undervalued from where they really should be, so I can't agree with you there. The only thing they have is upside potential. Now, if Riot gets done selling their shares of Bitfarms there this month, I think that would be great also. They do have the sites in Pennsylvania that they're working towards getting an HPCI deal. If they can get a deal there, we know that there's going to be a lot of investment in Pennsylvania, right? $70, $80 billion like that. Could they get a portion of that? Maybe. Yeah. Also, how much does Riot have left to sell? It's under 8% now. And they're reporting for Q2, it said 7.8, I believe. So it's under 8.3. It's like 7.8 right now. Last reported from their Q2 results. Talked about that one. Okay, Gene, do you think that Cleanspark should do share buybacks? I think it would be beneficial since the stock should be in the 20s and 30s in my opinion, and maybe outperform BTC going forward. They still have growth going to 60 exahash plus, right, this year. They're going to need the capital. They're selling Bitcoin right now as it is to fund operations and fund the growth to that portion. We'll see where they actually get to. It could be 70 exahash, I don't know. But they're using that for that growth. I think that's better than trying to buy back shares right now. The stock's not down that bad. If the stock was like at $2, something like that, I'd be like, yeah, you're making a lot of money. Buy back some shares. But at $10, I don't think it's the best use case of the money there. All right. And I think that's it. That's all the questions we have. So, yeah, I think we're going to call it a day. It's going to be a quick one today. We're going on 20 minutes. Haven't had one of those in a long time here. There wasn't also any like bullish news stories on anything. I think everybody was just like in a down mood today because of the markets, which is understandable. Things were all red. People were panicking. A lot of selling happening there. But again, I think this was needed. We needed a little bit of a correction. And DeFi says I sold Mara for Cleanspark. Okay, interesting, nice. Yeah, I think Cleanspark is a better operator. I think IREN is also a very, very great operator there. Those two, I think, are the best. Mara, has issues with their operations, so I'm okay with that. I think that's probably a good move there. All right. So I wish you guys a happy Friday, and hopefully you guys have a great weekend. We'll see where Bitcoin goes over that time span, and we'll get back into the swing of things on Sunday. We'll look at to see what the miners did against Bitcoin this past week. I'm sure it's not going to be great, but we'll take a look at that, and then we'll see what we have going on for next week. Next week we should have, I think, Hot 80s reporting. Cleanspark is reporting as well. I think Cypher's in there as well in that week. So it should be definitely should be an interesting week. We should get definitely some updates from the miners as well for their July production updates. And then Kitewind says, let's see if this is going to pop up. Yep. Ken might be the better bid from here. Yeah, we'll see. We may have to take a look at it again, see where they stand right now. But I don't know. I wouldn't, maybe. I'm not going to say no. I'm just going to say maybe. All right. I love you all. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Hope you guys enjoy it. Have a great one. And I'll see you guys on Sunday. Until then, bye.